I don't know what group we went to with the Statue of Liberty. I don't know what group it was we went with to the Statue of Liberty.
To go to the statue, you know, get on the boat and go to the statue. You had to have reservations.
Long time ago.
Get them a couple
they
days
were
ahead of
married.
time.
Yeah, actually the ride's longer now than it was when John and I took it because we got on down the highway.
Oh,
So you're getting more for your money today.
I guess. Yeah.
Calhoun goes right between those and under I-75 and then into the Tennessee River. But before it gets there, just on the other side of Middle Tennessee, it merges with that wild, wild river, the Ocoee River, and tames it down considerably. So it proceeds on as the Hiwassee River after the merger with the Ocoee River. Very clean, very enjoyable recreation river. Two best recreations for that river are rafting and trout fishing. We'll talk about both when we get to the little community of Reliance, Tennessee.
For the rafters, they will at the power plant will release more water.
Yeah.
For the rafters.
We've been on that a couple of times.
Now, when we get into the narrows past the power plant, we'll know pretty much know how many gates they got over the dam. But they don't
Also,
have any.
before we get too far, let me remind you about our store, our commissary in car number 2.
One time we
Our commissary has snacks available.
we got in.
Have all kind of good snacks. We got chips, candy bars, locally made products called Little Debbie. Wonderful place.
Pretty strict on it. I mean, you can't have possession of a feather, even if it's discarded.
I will be coming into Reliance shortly. Before we get there, I'll tell you a little history about this railroad. This railroad was the idea of the city leaders of Knoxville, Tennessee. You see, back in the 1870s, 1880s, if you wanted to ship something from Knoxville to Atlanta, you had to ship it through Chattanooga. But they wanted a direct route, thinking that would improve business with Atlanta, because Atlanta had something that Knoxville and Eastern Tennessee, it needed something that Knoxville and Eastern Tennessee had plenty of, lumber. You see, all the lumber, all the buildings were burned during the war between the states. All the trees were cut down to use for firewood during the winter. Existence being run by one of their grandsons and his family, still in the family business. Not only is it a good grocery store, but it's also one of our rafting facilities here in Reliance. As soon as we cross that crossing, you'll see Webb Brothers Grocery across the river. It's a little white store with a Texaco sign in front. But before we get there, I want to point out a very interesting building on the left. That is the old bridge tender's house, or watchman's house. The railroad built that house for the watchman and his family to live in. And he had the most important job in the railroad here in Reliance. It was his job to keep the original wooden bridge from burning up. You see, the old steam locomotives would spew cinders out of their smokestack, drop hot coals and embers out of their ash pan or firebox. So his job was to keep the bridge from burning up, so anytime a steam locomotive passed over the old original wooden bridge, he'd come out the door, walk across that bridge with 2 buckets of water, and douse any hot embers or small fires that had been started by the steam locomotive. You recognize the house. It'll have the old Reliance Depot sign on it and a rock foundation with wood construction. Right there, car 2 is coming past you right now.
Up on it, it'll
Real
be
close
on
to the
this
tracks.
side over here.
Oh,
Car 3, you're passing by the old watchman's house. Car 4 now, look to your left.
It's also an
They call it the
Airbnb.
bridge tender or the watchman.
I bet that's it right there.
Car 5, watchman's
Right
house
there,
on
guys.
the left
Pressing it
there.
right now.
Now that house, eventually the bridge tender's job was done away with because the railroads quit using steam locomotives in the mid-1950s. And they, after that, built a bridge of steel and concrete construction. I I'm looking to our right. You'll see Webb Brothers Grocery across and back a little bit. Coming up on the right across the river is the old Reliance Union Church, built in 1904, big two-story church. But the top story was a Masonic lodge. And for a little while, it was even briefly a school. Now, boys and girls went to school and only went through the 7th grade, 1st through 7th grade. You didn't have to go to the 8th grade. Guess where you went? To work. Dad needed the boys' help on the farm. All the cows, cattle, crops. Mama needs the girls' help in the kitchen. Cooking, cleaning, and canning. Also coming up on the right is a public boat ramp on the other side of the river. But on the left coming up is the Hiwassee Outfitters. Those are our friends who are also in the rafting business.
Yep, that's where. That's where we're seeing the rafters.
Both Hiwassee Outfitters and Webb Brothers will rent you a raft. Take you 5 miles upstream by their buses, drop you off at the boat ramp, let you float gently down the Hiwassee. Now the Hiwassee is a very gentle flowing river. It's not wild like the Ocoee. Well, let me warn you of the biggest hazard of that Hiwassee River, being run by one of their grandsons and his family, still in the family business. Not only is it a good grocery store, but it's also one of our rafting facilities here in Reliance. As soon as we cross that crossing, you'll see Webb Brothers Grocery across the river. It's a little white store with a Texaco sign in front. But before we get there, I want to point out a very interesting building on the left. That is the old bridge tender's house, or watchman's house. The railroad built that house for the watchman and his family to live in. And he had the most important job in the railroad here in Reliance. It was his job to keep the original wooden bridge from burning up. You see, the old steam locomotives would spew cinders out of their smokestack, drop hot coals and embers out of their ash pan or firebox. So his job was to keep the bridge from burning up, so anytime a steam locomotive passed over the old original wooden bridge, he'd come out the door, walk across that bridge with 2 buckets of water, and douse any hot embers or small fires that had been started by the steam locomotive. You recognize the house. It'll have the old Reliance Depot sign on it and a rock foundation with wood construction. Right there, car 2 is coming past you right
We're
now.
up on it. It'll
Real
be
close
on
to the
this
tracks.
side over here.
Oh,
Car 3, you're passing by the old watchman's house. Car 4 now to your left.
It's also an
They call it the
Airbnb.
bridge tender or the watchman.
I bet that's it right there.
Car 5, watchman's
Right
house
there,
on
guys.
the left
Passing it
there.
right now.
Now that house, eventually the bridge tender's job was done away with because the railroads quit using steam locomotives in the mid-1950s. And they, after that, built a bridge of steel and concrete construction. I'm looking to our right. You'll see Webb Brothers Grocery across and back a little bit. Coming up on the right across the river is the old Reliance Union Church, built in 1904, big two-story church. But the top story was a Masonic lodge. And for a little while, it was even briefly a school. Now, boys and girls went to school and only went through the 7th grade, 1st through 7th grade. You didn't have to go to the 8th grade. Guess where you went? To work. Dad needed the boys' help on the farm. All the cows, cattle, crops. Mama needs the girls' help in the kitchen. Cooking, cleaning, and canning. Also coming up on the right is a public boat ramp on the other side of the river. But on the left coming up is the Hiwassee Outfitters. Those are our friends who are also in the rafting business.
Yep, that's where we're seeing the rafters.
Both Hiwassee Outfitters and Webb Brothers will rent you a raft. Take you 5 miles upstream by their buses, drop you off at the boat ramp, let you float gently down the Hiwassee. Now the Hiwassee is a very gentle flowing river. It's not wild like the Ocoee. Well, let me warn you of the biggest hazard of that Hiwassee River. One old house left. Family lived there, but it's long gone. And there's nothing left of Old Post anymore. So that's the first of our ghost towns there on the right. Cars 3, 4, and 5.
I guess we'll see how the way back.
Nothing to see.
Well, it's a ghost town. It's a ghost town.
That's why it's a ghost town. Oh, look at that. We just went over a castle.
Yeah.
Stay away from the train. They know it's bigger than them.
Yeah, I think there was on the top. Go race through that chute.
Now, from time to time, you might see on the left side what looks like an old telephone pole. Well, those were telephone poles, but actually before that, they were the old telegraph poles.
Like they do with the tubes. I haven't seen any tubes. Not tubes, but the rafts. Yeah, I haven't seen any rafts.
They were all in the shed when we went by. There was all
Yeah, big rubber rafts,
Yeah.
you know. I haven't seen them. Maybe they have somebody take them up the river. Well, that's what I'm thinking. That they might be on rentals, but those things though, you gotta know how to flip yourself back up. If you flip over, you gotta come up, turn yourself back up. Yeah, but if you get spilled out of it, you need to know how to get back.
There they are. Car number 2. Look down. Right there. That's the narrowest point of the river. Goes right between those rocks. Car number 3. You're passing the narrow spot right now. Car number 4. Look down to your left. That's the narrowest part of the river in the state of Tennessee. And car 5 is passing it now down there on the left. Now, one of the problems with the railroad is the first 2 companies went bankrupt because people quit shipping from Knoxville to Atlanta. Because the diesels are much more dependable. If you've ever worked on a steam locomotive, you know why the big railroads quit using them all together and go to diesels.
Yeah, yeah. Was that a steam? Was that a...
They had a steam.
They had a steam. Or you could hear them sometimes. You know,
Pop would jump in the truck and chase it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we go see too.
There's 2 loops out in California.
Yeah.
One that's used by a lot of trains every day, called the Tehachapi Loop. The Hiwassee Gorge, right there. Beautiful view in the fall. Car number 3, you're coming into the ball spot right now. Look to the left, enjoy that view. Car number 4, look to your left and enjoy that view, while the rest of us stare at kudzu. Car number 5, your turn. Look to the left. There's that view across the Hiwassee River at what we call the Hiwassee Gorge. We'll go completely around the mountain and we'll go through that loop, the bald spot, one more time. But next, we're going to go underneath a great big wooden bridge. This bridge is what ties the loop together. First we go under it, then we go all the way around the top of the mountain, and we go on top of the very same trestle. It's all wood construction. It's inspected yearly for your safety. One year they found a few rotted logs. So like any other problem, all you got to do is throw money.
So you actually don't turn the train around. You just go back and...
We loop through to climb the mountain.
Right.
And then we'll go to farther where there's a sidetrack with the front edge, and we'll go back to the rear here, a couple here, and pull us back down the mountain.
The clear spot. Enjoy that beautiful view and look straight down right now. Car 2. That's where we were a few minutes ago. There's your view across the river. Car number 3. Look out, look down. Car number 4, your turn in the high pass of the ball spot. Look out across the river, look straight down. Car number 5.
Now,
But through the ball spot now for the second time
new
today.
ballast that we put down recently.
Wow. Is that what you're doing between here and Copper Hill?
We're replacing ties and ballast and rails and everything from the washouts.
Yeah, because
All right, remember that trestle we've been underneath? Now we're about to be on top of that very same
More
trestle.
likely September.
September.
If you look ahead on the left side, you'll see the locomotive take a hard left turn there.
We're working on an industrial.
And in a moment, we'll be on top of that
Did you all
trestle.
acquire any of the secret
Over the rails. Doesn't matter what side you're sitting on then. You look out either side, left or right. You get
Try and get the
view of
trestle.
tracks below.
Who ended up with the switcher?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was sad. Those guys really worked hard, but they just didn't have enough manpower.
Locomotive's on top of the trestle now.
Government closed it.
Car 1's probably on top of the trestle. Nobody in there though.
Well, the main
Car number 2.
building was torn down.
Here's our turn. We are on top of the loop trestle right now. About an 80-foot drop. Look down, unless you're scared of heights. Car number 3, you're on top of the loop trestle. Got either side there to the tracks below. Car number 4, on top of the loop trestle. And car number 5, your turn on top of the loop trestle. Look out either side there to the tracks below.
We're on the trestle.
Yep, there we go. Oh, and we can actually see the trestle.
So as we keep going up the grade here, we'll be out of the loop. Don't worry, you'll be back in the loop all the way back down the mountain.
So nice, we do it twice.
6 months to make that one cut. One of the many, many reasons we're so glad this line was preserved was all the hard work those guys put into it back in the old days. All right, now start looking to your left, and you'll see the Appalachian Dam. This is the dam that provides the water.
Oh yeah, those you know. Like I said, you'll be one to do a square dance when we're done.
Yeah, the engine's gone past. I'll turn my car around.
Which is on my model railroad that don't work half the time.
Well, this is the only time you want to see a front end of a train approach you. If any of you are Disney fans and remember the old Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, that's what it always reminds me of at the end where you see the train light coming at you.
They coaches do a couple.
You can own a train radio?
But not two-way.
No, sir. These
I've
are,
tried
I mean, you
to
can buy these type of
pictures like
radios,
this
but not
before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we
the
have
lights
about-
on the engine were so bright that it washed out the picture.
Walkie-talkies too.
I mean, you have whatever supplier they're using at the time.
Can you write that down for me?
One coach do a
Well,
couple.
it's just if you want just a walkie-talkie, you go on Amazon or anything, just put walkie-talkie and it'll come up a lot cheap because these are very expensive radios.
You can get the good band on. Amazon, okay.
Yeah, Amazon. Just put walkie-talkie and you get very inexpensive. Okay, brace yourself, guys.
Watch when
Let's see
he
how
hits the
gentle he is
couple and
today.
they're gonna all fall back.
Oh, Jeff's
5
gonna-
feet. 4, 3, 2, 1, and dadgummit.
Now he's gonna pull forward to be sure it's locked in.
Unfortunately, it didn't couple.
Well, now he's got to back up and
Yep.
try again. You can see the engineer over here on the left hand.
So he'll pull out.
No, he didn't do it.
It didn't couple.
That's Dave Stoica. He's going to go down and find out why it didn't couple.
hope he knows before he backs up again.
Coupling, I mean, how does that
Engineers over here on this side.
It's just like a long rubber. It's almost like I got two cloths, and they come in and they come together and they connect their brake lines and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hold on.
Yeah.
we go again.
3, 2, 1, there. We got it. Stretch it.
The newer model railroads, because some of the older ones have a different style.
Yeah, some of the old line.
You can't see it.
Damn, it's
What?
You hear him ringing the bell? You hear the bell ringing?
Yeah.
Mason.
Back there, she's standing up here on the
Alright, we're now on the loop trestle, so look out either side. Car 5, you're on top. Car 4 now. To the tracks below. Car 3, you're coming on top of the loop trestle now. Doesn't matter what side.
No, I'm turning around.
Car 5, you're first up.
The ranger station.
Look to your right, enjoy that beautiful view across the river. Car number 4, here's your turn. Look right there. Look right, enjoy the view.
That's a good picture.
Car number 3, look to your right.
Cars 2 and 3 got it.
Beautiful view across the gorge, look straight down. Car number 2, enjoy the view. Enjoy the view, car number 2. And car number 1's coming through the ball spot right now. Here's your good picture. And then after we pass under, take a picture from the back of the dome.
See it or not?
Car 5 is underneath the loop trestle right now. Car 4 is under the trestle. Alright, here we go through the ball spot one last time. Car 5, car 4, your turn. Car 3, your turn. Alright, car number 2, enjoy the view.
I would like to tell you one thing I'm gonna do. Looks like up there.
Yeah,
blocked the crossing.
They can. I know they can replace trucks right on the track.
But to send it to Chattanooga involves 2 railroads and some very painful planning. The last time it went to Chattanooga, they very carefully thought out the route that we thought Norfolk Southern and CSX would take it on, to make sure that we had it turned the proper direction for NS to pick up. Well, the NS decided to run that train for a while, and it turned to rain. And so when we got it, that end was up there.
Oh man!
And so we had to do some begging and pleading, and we got somebody to sneak it onto a train. That'd be awful to have to do.
It would be awesome.
So what I have here is a copy of a watercolor postcard that was made of the loop. A lot of times people ask me, if we went through a loop, how come that? Exactly, I mean it's 4 miles, so that also, just the length of it makes it hard to tell. Fall on you. I didn't expect that, sorry.
Most of us wouldn't even notice.
I haven't landed on any passengers yet. I thought it was.
Even though it's hard for a locomotive to do, and 2% is like the maximum.
Now, saluted grade is 4%.
I said like the normal maximum.
Yeah, saluted grade is a 4%. You know, that's not a loop, it's just a steep grade. And some CSX had a blocked track, and so they did some reroutes over Norfolk Southern's saluted grade, and they kept the CSX crew on the train and put an NS pilot on. So the CSX crew gets to Melrose, North Carolina.
We're hoping to
We
go
may be
in
going up in
October.
October.
Yep.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, my life got a little simpler. I changed jobs last Saturday. Yep, I went full-time here.
Wow.
Yeah, I had been part-time, just helping out on the weekends. And so now I'm full-time here, and so my full-time job is gone. So yep.
That's cool.
Yep. So part of the week I'll be able to choose which day.
I was telling these people when I was in college,
So you'll be on this run quite often?
Yep.
I used to ride the Erie Lackawanna
Here like Lana.
from Dover, New Jersey to Greenville, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
They'd leave at 8 o'clock. They'd leave Dover at 8 o'clock at night. I would make my 8 o'clock class in Greenville, Pennsylvania.
And so you went to sleep the whole time you traveled too.
Oh no, all the college kids used to
Party outside. Party train instead of a party bus.
We had a ball.
We actually ate lunch on the ride. He said we got very
I mean, this thing, I don't know. I mean, it's been several years, so I don't know if things have changed or not.
Yeah.
But, you know, for what it's worth, pretty shy.
But that one is just like he explained this one. It's been in the family for years and years and years, and they're still operating it. I had a fried one, she knew what she got the one. Slices.
Well, this is just a fair store. It's like a dental food. Or they might have cereal things, but you know, it's probably bigger. So I'd have to go.
Okay. In other words, you're saying don't leave without you. How much is it worth?
You know about the train, and they come ride. They tell everybody they know. In a while, we'll have full trains all year long. Now then, you tell everybody, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your relatives. Heck, tell people you don't even like, and we'll straighten them up once they come up here. But do spread the word about us. We'd be very, very appreciative if you put a good word in for the Hiwassee River Scenic Railroad. Now, we are part of the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum, and one of our highlight trips used to be going to Copper Hill, Tennessee. Well, last year we had a major track inspection, and because of storms and other issues, we had a lot of problems, and we cannot go to Copper Hill yet. But when we do go to Copper Hill, we invite you to come back. Honey, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. There's a good hamburger place there, a lot of good restaurants, a lot of good stores. Not only to pick and mine, you've got an art studio, an art shop.